The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Episode 138 of What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. Stories for Quarantine. This is T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
And we're still alive.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll stay that way.
Are you as surprised as I am?
Yeah. I mean, this has been a crazy few weeks, you know?
Absolutely. Something that we never thought would happen in our lifetimes. For our guests listening to this in a future date, the date is currently March 24th, and we are on a stay-at-home order from Governor Wolf of PA, and most of the United States is on lockdown because coronavirus has entered the states.
Yeah, and I remember seeing this stuff back in January and kind of went over my head. Just didn't really pay much attention to it. I remember seeing little tidbits on TV about China and other countries, Italy, and these cruise liners, and it just didn't really, I wasn't focused on it. Just one ear out the other. And now it's like here, and everyone's standing up and taking notice, including myself, you know.
We're all basically stuck at home. Most of the businesses are closed at this point, except for life-preserving businesses like supermarkets, hospitals, doctors' offices, and things like that. And most of the offices have closed and businesses have closed, so people aren't working. In fact, a lot of people are being laid off. And it's just got this surreal feeling. Like, you see it in the movies.
Yeah.
And then it actually happens to you. And I think that's also a bit of a curse because we have a much greater fantasy threshold about how bad this can get, and people are buying guns and ammunition, and toilet paper has disappeared off the shelves, and it's like all we're kind of doing is hanging out and waiting to see how bad this thing gets.
Yeah, and that's probably the best way to describe it, you know. None of us know what's going to happen, how bad it's going to get. Italy is the worst country in the world right now. Yeah, as far as the death toll and the infection rates. And you know, and the problem with this is, I mean, as a lot of people know, most people know, there's no way to really treat it. Yeah. There's no antiviral medication for it as of yet. They're working on it. You know, I'm sure you know that. Yeah. Even you have not been well the last couple of weeks. You know?
Might be fighting another pneumonia expression. You know, I have this chronic pneumonia, and it comes out, and it happened last Sunday when I started getting the burning, dry feeling in my lungs, a low-grade fever, and I'm like, crap, have I gotten this thing? Because it would be very bad.
Right, exactly.
With the damage to my lungs and my white count from lymphoma, I'm definitely a victim. And at that point, Allison said, I already put myself on lockdown for a few days, and Allison was basically like, you're not leaving the house for 6 months.
Oh, God. Oh, man. How you been dealing with that? Just being, you know, under quarantine and in lockdown?
Watching a lot of television.
Yeah.
You know? Enjoying the Showtime month that we have and Epics, and I got HBO to catch up on Westworld. And I gotta say, HBO Westworld Season 3, come on! Really?
I wouldn't know. I haven't watched it, but
well, having not watched it, you would probably find it just as entertaining as I have.
Okay, I love the movie, the Westworld film. I actually own it, but I've never seen the show.
Oh, the first 2 seasons were excellent, but the third has so far been a bit of a letdown. It's prosaic writing, it's very basic, it's cliched, and I'm just not digging it so far. Loved Watchmen, adored Watchmen, but Westworld so far, bit of a disappointment. Sorry, Bill, I know Bill loves it, but I'm still disappointed. And I know you've got some movies planned for tonight.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing Zombieland.
Oh,
1 and 2. I did mention to you back to back. I don't know if I have time for that, but definitely the first one tonight. Mm-hmm. And if I don't have time, then I'll do the second one tomorrow night. Right. If I have the time, I'll do both back to back. But
they look like a hoot. They look really cool.
Yeah, and you know, it's one of these movies I haven't seen in a long time, mm-hmm. and it's kind of like, you know, I've been seeing these like different like clips online about, mm-hmm. you know, Woody Harrelson with the Twinkies, and mm-hmm. it's kind of reminding me of what we're going through, you know, with trying to get toilet paper and trying to get hand sanitizer and, you know, wet wipes and things like that,
and dealing with Facebook zombies. Who are I mean, everyone's living on Facebook right now. We're getting our up-to-date news on Facebook right now. Everybody's, you know, learning things and looking at each other's lives and talking about their fears and concerns. It's all on Facebook, and America is surviving through Facebook. So there you have it. But we've got a cool show. This is episode 138, Stories for Quarantine, and we've got a ghost story that was sent into the original Fox Ghost Story Project website back years ago, 7-8 years ago, called The Whaley House, read by David Walton. And then we've got an interview with a cool author that sort of turned up from the middle of America called Edgar Swamp. He's a crime, horror, sci-fi author. And we have an excerpt from his new book, Amber Hollow, which is also read by David Walton. He's a cool guy, a lot of perspective, great little story, great little ghost story. And so we are going to entertain you through this epidemic that we're going through in America and the rest of the world. What Are You Afraid Of goes on.
Yes.
Yes,
yeah,
we go on.
Going.
We go on.
We're going on. We're going on.
You can find more information about the show at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can find an episode page for every episode, a bunch of ghost stories, new interviews from our Crash Code authors, plus other content, articles, and just some cool stuff going on over the website. We've had a lot of hits over there, so the website is getting just as popular as the show. We've done very well. I guess pandemics are good for podcasts because people are sitting home catching up on their shows.
That's right. Catching up a lot of things. There's shows, yes. You know, catching up on backlogs of movies, mm-hmm. Books, reading, things,
laundry,
everything.
Yeah, laundry and...
Yeah, laundry too. Yeah, exactly. I've been doing some laundry.
Good.
Yep. Yeah.
But we will be right back on episode 138. This was sent in to the original website. This is called Whaley House, read by David Walton.
This is Joe R. Lansdale, creator of the Hap and Leonard series, and you're listening to me and others on Fox and Phil.
What are you afraid of?
A Trip to the Whaley House, submitted by Arcanthis Rattus to the Fox True Ghost Story Project 2005. The Whaley House Museum 2005, California. Read by David Walton. Although it's not the scariest or strangest thing to happen to me, my first trip to the Whaley House Museum in San Diego, California, was notable not only for my impressions, but a photo I discovered when I got home. I arrived just as it opened. I was the only one there initially, beside a tour guide who remained downstairs in one of the chairs in the entry hallway. He encouraged me to take photos and to explore as much as I wished. I felt a bit of heaviness in the courtroom area, where guests first go in. Then I proceeded on through, getting a very definite feeling that I was not alone in the dining room. As I went up the stairs, I would have sworn someone was standing there, and took several pics. The bedrooms were interesting, but are closed to entrance by guests with plexiglass partitions. This makes it very easy to see the rooms, but impossible to photograph without getting weird reflections and tricks of light. So I made my way to the room with the stage. Here I experienced immediate nausea and a terrible headache. This room had a very dark, angry feel to it, unlike the rest of the house. I sat down in one of the chairs, but had to leave. On my way downstairs, I again felt that someone was standing on one of the steps. I snapped several pics. Because of my throbbing headache, I needed to leave. I passed the guide as he headed upstairs. On my way out, I was stricken by the very strong feeling that I should turn back and snap another photo. So I did, focusing on the entry hallway, where there are 3 chairs. When I arrived home and felt better, I studied the photos I had taken. There was nothing much on any of them, except one. On that final pic, I saw something odd. Underneath the chair in the hallway where the guide had been sitting was an abnormality. I couldn't dismiss it as a reflection or light anomaly. I could make out an outline of a form and noticed that it had substance, appearing both behind and in front of the bottom rungs of the chair. It looks like a cat to me. There may also be a kitten in the seat of the chair, but that is more ambiguous. Our listeners may look at these photos as part of our ghost story archives at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
Explore the darkness.
Find out what goes bump in the night. Did you hear that?
Did you see that? What's that bright light in the sky? Oh, we so need to investigate.
Calling all witches and sensitives.
Explore the paranormal.
With host
Shauna
and Vicky.
From Geeks Paranormal.
Wednesdays
at 9 Eastern.
8 Central.
Let's explore. On paraxradio.com.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head, the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
We're back on episode 138.
That was wonderful.
Yeah,
that was great.
Stories for quarantine, because we are in quarantine. right now.
Yeah, I haven't been out of the house in quite a while, so
Right, I know you've been taking care of your mom and protecting yourself, which is good.
And no one coming in, no one really going out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I know you guys are doing pretty much the same thing,
Yeah, Allison's running a lot of errands for me, taking care of things. She's working from home, which is a good setup because we were ready for this, and her company was ready for something like this. And they're an accounting company, so they're pretty much not affected by the stop of work, though thankfully they have extended the deadlines for city, state, and federal. So she's going to be doing taxes into June or July at this point.
Yeah, they extended it to, what was it? Just June, right? June or July?
July 15th for
right.
the federal taxes. I think it's June for the different states that you're in,
Okay.
Now, this whole epidemic that's been going on, it's got me thinking about the Mothman. Are you familiar with the Mothman?
I'm familiar with it, yes. Vaguely familiar.
You saw the movie with Richard Gere.
I did. I saw it in the theater, actually.
Mm-hmm. Great, eerie film. And of course, the Mothman started in West Virginia folklore. Actually, it goes back to the Owlman. It goes back centuries beforehand. But it was a creature that was reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area, starting on November 12, 1966, to like December 15, 1967. It was made popular by the book by John Keel, The Mothman Prophecies, in 1975. And he started appearing to different people in 1966, first to, get this, a couple of grave diggers in Clendon, West Virginia. They saw a man figure flying low through the trees over their heads with burning red eyes. And then different people started seeing it all through Virginia. They saw them with the glowing red eyes. They would appear outside the door. They'd see a large flying man with a 10-foot wingspan, some flying over cars. In fact, this one couple was chased out of town to a sort of munitions plant. It just became a big concrete hunks left over from World War II. And then the creature flew inside and vanished. Now, wildlife biologist Dr. Robert Smith said that what they were seeing was a sandhill crane, which is a large American bird, which is as tall as a man when it stands up, 7 feet, with a huge wingspan with reddish coloring around the eyes. And it had not been seen before in the area. And of course, the whole thing ended on December 15th in 1967 with the collapse of the Silver Bridge that killed 46 people. And seeing all this disaster, I keep thinking, where's the Mothman?
I'm going to go on record by saying I'm actually harboring the Mothman.
You're harboring the Mothman?
He's in my basement. He's been there for a few days. I ran across him. He's in quarantine. He has nowhere to go.
Oh no!
So I'm helping him out.
You're helping out the Mothman. That's very good of you, because he's got to get out there and predict gloom and doom and sort of be this harbinger of disaster. And okay, well that's very good of you.
I know. He's apologetic and he's very thankful for he's apologetic for everything he's done in the past. And he's seen the light, and now I'm helping him out. So he doesn't want to go outside. So I told him he can just hang out in my basement.
Okay, well that's very good of you. The reason I'm bringing this up is that he was recently seen, and I wasn't sure if this was last year or this year, over at Chicago's O'Hare International Airport.
Yeah, he talked about that.
Yeah, did it? Of course he did.
Yeah.
There was a guy working security. He escorts trucks back and forth. He was escorting one to the post office to make deliveries. And about 10 o'clock, he was waiting with his truck. He stepped out to have a smoke, and then he saw something over at the fence. It looked like a kid trying to climb the fence. So he drove out there to investigate, right? Because they had actually had some reports of people trying to get into the airport, paranormal investigators, because people had been seeing the Mothman and they wanted to come check it out. So he drove over expecting to yell at some paranormal investigators. And when he got there, what he saw was either a very tall human or something with a huge wingspan, solid black, with glowing red eyes. And the wings must have measured 10 feet from tip to tip.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah, he left that part out. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. So he sees this thing, and its eyes are glowing red at him. He gets out of the car, he shines the flashlight on it, and the Mothman starts screeching loudly. He said, like brakes on a train, and it was very high-pitched. It really hurt his ears. And then it turned its back to him and shot straight up into the air and took off like a bullet.
What would you do if you saw something like that?
What would we always do? Sort of stand and gulp at it, let our fight or flight response end, and then go back and question what we just saw.
I don't know. I don't know how much fight or flight. I think I would just flee.
Just flight. Just,
Yeah, just flight, yeah.
Feet don't fail me now. Yeah.
That's right.
He could see it. Its wings were flapping into the night. He heard it screech again. And before he knew it, it was gone.
It's like Bat Boy from those old Sun tabloids.
Yeah. Yep. Bat Boy.
Remember those old tabloids? Mm-hmm. Sun and all the Bat Boy? Yeah.
Bat Boy gets married. Yeah.
Oh my god! I remember when I was a teenager, I used to buy them. I didn't believe any of them. I just bought them because I thought they were just fun to read. You know,
I believed them as a kid. I saw them and I believed them, and I thought everything printed in a newspaper or magazine was absolutely true.
Yeah, I don't know how they could get away with it. I mean, people. I mean, I'm sure majority of people. Is that magazine still around? That newspaper?
They're still around. Yeah.
Still around. Okay.
It's pretty popular still, I think. Well, it's like wrestling. You know it's not real, but you suspend your disbelief for fun.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah,
when this guy got back to his headquarters, he told his supervisor, and the supervisor said, "Well, it's just a big owl, I'm sure." And then he also said, "But in the future, be careful when you're out there."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wise words. Words of wisdom.
So it's like, if it's just an owl, don't worry about it. But then he sort of gave this hint that maybe it wasn't just an owl.
Yeah, a subtle hint.
Subtle hint.
It's not just an owl.
This is T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
And we are on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Shows. This is episode 138, Stories for Quarantine. We're on Parax Radio, Friday nights at 9 p.m. We do a bi-monthly show mostly. We have paranormal guests on, we have authors on, we have musicians on, we have lots of interesting oddballs on the show, and it's been a lot of fun. We had Kat Weidman on the show a couple of times, and Kat's show is back, and we actually got a lot of hits looking for Katrina Weidman over the last few weeks, so we're glad she was part of the show.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, we had her on a couple times.
Yeah, we did, and hopefully we'll probably get her back, and of course, the wonderful Miss Heather Tat. She was a good guest.
That was a great interview.
They were that pre-Halloween. God, I'm starting to miss Halloween already. We haven't even had summer.
I know. It's like, well, I'd rather have, I don't know. I mean, would we rather have this going on during Halloween? Because it'd be, kind of tough.
That Halloween would be canceled. Yeah.
We're in the middle of kind of like nothing right now. I mean, we got Easter coming up.
Right.
It's March. We're not, February was a few weeks ago. We're not like in the midsummer months. We're not in the Halloween season either. So it's kind of an off season in a way.
Yeah, it is. We're right at that medium point. I'm glad for that. I'm glad it's not 70 degrees outside and we want to be at the beach or in the park. It's that right melting, thawing time. And hopefully we really don't know what's going to happen.
But I was just going to say, but the scary thing is we don't know how long this is going to go on for.
Yeah.
Or what's going to happen, And for the record, Fox and I are not in the same room.
No.
we are in different rooms, 50 miles apart?
Yeah, it's about 90 miles, actually.
90 miles, okay.
It's about 90 minutes, more like 90 minutes trip back and forth between here at Lancaster, where Alison and I moved to, and Lansdale. And actually, I'm kind of glad to be out of the city. It's a very different environment out here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, hopefully,
how is the coronavirus situation where you are?
It's not too bad yet. We haven't had a lot of cases out here.
Right.
And of course, the city of Lancaster is on shutdown. We're actually a satellite of Harrisburg, so it's pretty urbanized out here. And the one issue that a lot of people aren't paying attention to is the homelessness issue, because they have nowhere to go now.
Right. Yeah.
The shelters have closed. A lot of places aren't passing out meals. And so there are a lot of homeless on the streets. And I'm not sure what we can do at this point.
What do you do?
I've
What
been
can you
thinking.
do in that
I've been thinking
situation?
about
The,
it.
the, the only thing that's good is, I mean, it's not like 15 degrees out. It's not like January or anything.
That would be a terrible, terrible disaster. At least it's not freezing out there. But I can't leave the house. I can't take the chance of getting contaminated. So I just hope that a lot of the people who hoarded their food, hoarded the canned soup, hoarded their toilet paper would maybe take some of that excess and later donate it to shelters when this is all over, because a lot of people are going to suffer for a long time after this virus has at least eased up on America.
Right. Yeah.
But hey,
for a while, I don't know about you, but watching broadcasts every day for, I would say, a good week straight every day for a few hours a day. And I've kind of, I'd say within the last week, I've kind of eased back.
Yeah.
And I've kind of stopped because if you watch enough of it, it starts to really get to you.
Yeah.
You know, because every day the news gets worse. So it's like, okay, I have to stop watching for a while and it's like, okay, if you take 4 days off and go back, it's like, holy crap, you know?
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
So we'll see how this goes. But I do have something that might cheer you up.
What's that?
Clown news.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, that's clown news is the one guaranteed thing to cheer me up.
There you go. Okay, I'm glad. I'm gonna cheer you up. You can play it for the Mothman later. Might cheer him up in your basement.
Yeah, he's very depressed.
Cause I can imagine with his kind of line of work, he's missing out.
He's missing out on a lot.
Yeah. Clown news. Okay, so I love saying this. Cue the jingle. Clown news. Clown news. Okay, this is coming from Hermosillo, Mexico. It's good to know that life is still going on out in the world. So, a bunch of clowns protested a police station in Hermosillo, Mexico in early March after one of the painted ones, the clowns, was beaten up by a police officer.
One of the clowns was beaten up by a police officer.
Yep, earlier.
So an officer beat him up.
Yep, an officer beat him up. So the incident happened at a children's party last Sunday afternoon in Sonora. The clown was Marco Vasquez, better known by his clown identity, Tony Tamber.
Oh, hey. It's a very cheerful name.
I like alliteration.
Yeah,
I do.
Tamber.
Now, it all started when one of the guests at the birthday party that he was, orchestrating was taken home after throwing a huge fit because he didn't win a prize in the game.
Uh-oh. Mm-hmm.
So Tony Tamber and his assistants were running the party. Now, about the time the cake was being served, 3 men, believed to be family members of the unhappy kid, came up to Vasquez, started pushing him around, started insulting him. They got into a fight, and it turned into this huge beatdown on the clown.
Oh, no.
The aggressors were clearly intoxicated.
Yeah, I mean, nothing says fun like getting drunk at a kid's birthday party, right?
And there were like 30 kids there watching this.
So there was 30 kids watching these drunk adults beat the crap out of this clown.
One of them was a municipal cop there.
So the cop was off duty?
Yeah, he was. He was at the party. He was hammered, and he started hammering on the clown.
Oh, jeez. That's awful. Gosh.
Yeah, isn't that terrible? So the cop got fired, and the clowns, like his friendly family clowns, showed up at the police station and protested it, and 3 were even arrested there because the poor clown is in the hospital and he's going to lose an eye.
Really?
Yeah, because of the beatdown.
Oh no, jeez. That I feel really bad for the clown.
Poor guy. There you go. So life goes on, even with this terrible virus threatening our grandparents, our sick, and even healthy people. A lot of people could die from this, and I know there's been a lot of insensitive, unsympathetic people who are saying, well, the old could die anyway. People are going to die anyway. Lives have to go on. And it's good to know that in Mexico, cops are still beating up clowns.
Yeah, and apparently they're having gatherings with 30 people, 30 kids in one place.
There you go. Yeah. This was last week, apparently. I just found this on the news. So yeah, we're not even supposed to, at least here, we're not supposed to have any more than 10 people in one place at one time. Right, and even that they want us sheltering at home.
That's pretty tragic. He might lose an eye, or he will lose an eye.
He will lose an eye, it looks like.
Oh, he will.
Yeah, he will lose an eye.
He'll have the good sense to get a good lawyer and sue the crap out of them. Because,
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so, because a clown with one eye is very creepy.
It's a really confusing look. A clown with an eye patch. It's like a pirate, or is he a pirate? Is he a clown? What is he?
This
kind of hybrid.
This is the beginning of a supervillain.
It's a hybrid supervillain. It's a half clown, half pirate.
Cyclops the clown. He was beaten by officers of the law at a children's birthday party. Now he wants revenge. Coming to theaters in Mexico.
This is the kind of thing that turns, good clowns towards the way of Pennywise,
Yeah, they turns good clowns bad. That was clown news.
That was wonderful. I mean, I don't like what happened to him.
So, what do you call it when a nun trips over a clown?
Let me think. When a nun trips... Yeah, I got nothing.
Neither do I, but it's verging on the ridiculous.
Nice.
So we are going to play an interview that I did with the author Edgar Swamp and play an excerpt from his new novel, Amber Hollow, on episode 138. Stories for Quarantine. Listen to our shows, hang out at home, don't get anyone sick, keep yourself safe, listen to podcasts, watch cable. Free Showtime this month. You can go with the app and it's, just kind of hang out and take it day by day. Phil?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking it day by day, every day.
We will be back with Edgar Swamp on episode 138 of What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show. Parax Radio, Friday nights at 9 p.m. And check out our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
Rat, where are you going?
I'm going back to the Paranormal View, back where I belong.
Please, take me with you.
No, I'm through with everything here. I want to see if there's something left in life I haven't explored. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Rat, don't run to them. They talk about ghosts and hauntings, UFOs, and all kind of supernatural scary stuff.
You'll never understand, will you, Scarlet?
No!
Well, that's your misfortune.
Rat, if you go, where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear... Line!
Oh, you gotta be kidding.
That's the Paranormal View with your host, Henry Foister, Jeffrey Gould, and Barbara Duncan. Every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the Parax Radio Network.
This is T. Fox Dunham with What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And check out our website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. Now, we diversify a lot. We're a dark audio magazine, as our fans know, and we do a lot of paranormal investigators, ghost stories, and things like that. Plus, we also speak to authors, film directors, artists, that sort of thing, and we have the benefit of learning from so many authors from around the world, and we've been doing this for 5 years now. We've heard so many different points of views and so many excerpts from many different kinds of books, and they just sort of fall out of the woodwork. They tell a story, they come to us, and they want to share it, and we are happy to oblige. We do the show ourselves for promotion, as we are authors too, and trying to attract an audience in horror. So we will be speaking this episode with a Mr. Edgar Swamp. Now, he's an interesting individual who's had quite a life of experience on the road. He's written a book called Amber Hollow, and he was kind enough to talk to us. How are you today, Mr. Swamp?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Fox.
So, who are you, Mr. Swamp?
I am, actually, Edgar Swamp is a pen name.
Mm-hmm.
I won't tell you my real name.
That's okay.
I am actually a musician. I was a writer first, but music swept me up in the 90s, and I lost track with my writing, and grunge was my era. And I had the pleasure of playing in a lot of bands and traveling around the United States. And after a while, when it got old, sleeping in vans and on the floors of cheap motel rooms, I went back to my original passion of writing. Amber Hollow is my fourth novel. I've been able to diversify throughout the course of the 4 novels that I've published, simply because I've not hammered down an audience yet. My first novel was a horror novel. Then I did dystopian sci-fi. than a crime caper, and Amber Hollow returns to horror, but it's in the form of a not unconventional mystery, like a detective mystery.
Excellent. And it's funny, a lot of authors do that. Some authors will take years studying, trying to find a style, trying to find an audience, and other authors just get out there and, as you say, start hammering out books and trying to create their own identity that way and find their audience just by getting their words out there.
Yeah, I actually found that the horror genre worked the best for me. My first novel, The Geyer Mission, was pretty much straight horror. People that have read my other books liked The Geyer Mission better. So when I was working on Amber Hollow, putting together the ideas for that, I knew I was going to be doing another horror novel, but I wanted to combine elements of fantasy and actually the way the story needed to be told. A detective mystery format was required, because honestly, I look at Amber Hollow as like a Twilight Zone episode or the X-Files. Some strange event has occurred, and the reader is compelled, hopefully, that is my goal, to turn the pages just simply to get to the end to find out what happens. And I try to make it fast-paced and entertaining along the way.
Well, you've already ticked many of the boxes that I hear a lot of authors don't quite get to. And the first rule of any author trying to make it in a professional market is be entertaining first. And it's funny how that escapes a lot of authors when they're writing. They don't think that way.
In fact, that was my main goal. I sat down and I was like, if you want, because I'd had one of my books, got a critique, 30 pages in, you were kind of losing me. And I took that to heart. And so I wanted to, and actually I have to kind of quote Kurt Vonnegut. I cannot quote him directly. I'm going to paraphrase. Mm-hmm. But Kurt Vonnegut, his advice as a writing instructor was to always have your story moving forward. Even if your protagonist was just going to get a glass of water, that they're always doing something. And so with Amber Hollow, every page moves the story forward. I didn't bog it down with backstories, tangents, or subplots. I had a couple of mild subplots and or exposition on characters, but nothing extensive.
Right, which we find in successful mystery horror books. So let me read the synopsis of Amber Hollow. On July 14, 1991, an isolated village in northern Wisconsin is ground zero for an unprecedented fiery tragedy. Of the community's 600 residents, there are only 5 survivors. Detailed accounts by the victims contradict one another. The only link is a man named Anthony Guntram, whom they allege is the primary suspect. Because he is presumably dead, this claim can't be verified. Only the villagers know the secret of Amber Hollow, a place where sanity is checked at the town line, and the parameters of reality become blurred. An unconventional horror story by design, Edgar Swamp delivers an action-driven page-turner that will keep readers guessing until the calamitous ending. So where did the idea for Amber Hollow come from?
I am from a little town in Wisconsin, and it just, as a kid growing up, seemed like the creepiest place. I always wanted to write something about that city growing up. And so I was brainstorming ideas for a novel. I came up with an idea where I wanted exactly what the synopsis you just read, that it starts with an enormous tragedy that destroys an entire community except for 5 people. And the 5 survivors all have a different story as to what happened, and that the mystery lies within who are these people covering for? What are they called? I wanted to create a mystery, initially, actually, that could be solved within the parameters of reality. I couldn't find something that would successfully do that without being cliche. So I had to take it in a paranormal direction, but that brought the book into a land I hadn't seen it would go to, and I think it made it the best it could be.
Excellent, excellent. And it is difficult finding an original plot anymore because we're so saturated in media. And, you know, I watch great movies that are atmospheric with great characters, and then the ending happens, and it's already been done 3 or 4 times in the last few years. So I can imagine how difficult it must have been for you to find an original ending to the mystery.
In fact, that was the hardest part of the book. I have stated in press releases and other interviews that this is the best ending I feel I've ever written. Kind of funny, like, not to say anything disparagingly because I love Stephen King, but like a joke in the movie It 2 with Stephen King in the movie was the writer in the movie. He was like, "Do you want me to sign it?" Stephen King's, "Nah, I don't like the ending." Like, that Stephen King had been criticized for endings of his books. And I think some of his best books have great endings. He's written 50 books. Occasionally there's going to be an ending people aren't going to like. With Amber Hollow, my goal was to have an ending you had no idea was coming. That literally I throughout the whole book, I put in red herrings. So, you know, people that I know reading it are like, "I know what it's about." And I'm like, "I don't think so." And I really had to reach really deep to find something. And so far, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but the best praise through reviews I have gotten is that a lot of people did not see that ending coming. I confess I had a couple of reviews that did say, "Oh, I didn't like the ending." But you're always going to get somebody who's going to say that.
Right.
That's just unavoidable.
You were a writer before you became a musician, and you're still a musician, and you write now. When did you know you wanted to write, and where did that inspiration come from?
I am just a natural-born storyteller. I wrote, actually, my first thing I ever wrote was a play in 2nd grade in which I cast myself in the lead and a girl I liked opposite me. And the play went over very well with my classmates. The girl did not become my girlfriend, unfortunately. But I then later, just 2 years later, had I realized I excelled at storytelling, that I was lousy at everything else in school, sports, math, science, everything. But what I could do is I had an imagination that I could create something out of nothing, and that I had a penchant for the descriptive and the dialogue. And it's something that's always been very fun. And it's been, I can't say easy, but when it's easy, it's easy. When it's hard, it's hard. Music swept me up in my teens and my 20s, and if you don't practice, you'll lose your chops. And when I decided I wanted to start writing again, I had to write. I had to practice and practice and practice just to get back to baseline of how I wrote when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and then be able to take it from there. So it's a craft I've always enjoyed. But music kind of swept me away for a while because it's more of an immediate kind of thing. I'm an entertainer. I love public speaking. I love being in front of an audience. And music seemed to be that vehicle for me. But writing can be that vehicle cerebrally, you know, if you can share it and have as many people out there read it and enjoy it.
Excellent. That's excellent. I know a lot of musicians and authors. In fact, I know one that even makes his own guitars, and it's always great to speak to the traveling troubadours because they have such wisdom about life like yourself. Well, we're winding down our interview with Mr. Swamp, and it's been informative and refreshing. Now, when I go into coffee shops to work, especially here in Lancaster, where my wife and I recently moved in Pennsylvania, you always see around 4 o'clock a couple of people come in with laptops. They're usually younger. Sooner or later, they get around to chatting with each other about how they're going to be published authors one day. Now, if you were sitting in that coffee shop and they were to come up and ask you any advice on how to get that book out or how to get published, what would you tell them?
First and foremost, write a lot. Write when you don't want to. Write when you don't have ideas. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure you are putting out something that is so good that you have the confidence to either approach a publisher or an editor or publishing house, or if you choose to self-publish it, find people that can help steer you in the right direction to make it be the most professional product you can have. The market right now is so saturated because of traditional publishing and self-publishing that you need to make sure what you're putting out is original. You really want to play to your audience. Readers have so much free content now, free and cheap content, that you've got a lot of competition. So my best advice would be hone your craft to a razor edge. Make sure it is the absolute best it can be, and get other people's opinions. And there's websites. There's one I recommend to people. It's called writing.com. It's all writers, and you can submit stories. Other writers will read them and critique them. Everybody's there to help you. I did that. I did it for years. I had my chops busted, change that ending, or I didn't like that character. Really, really, really get real feedback. Not your wife or your brother-in-law who's like, oh, I loved it. Get real feedback.
Right.
Always try and never give up.
And never give up.
Never give up.
Excellent advice. Well, Mr. Swamp, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
We're glad to help. Now, we have an excerpt from the compelling mystery, Amber Hollow, read by our beloved David Walton. Now, you can find the book and more information about Edgar Swamp at his website, www.edgarswamp.com, and we'll have links up to his site and his book on our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com, where you can also find our collection of true ghost stories, a page for every episode, interviews, and links to our authors and guests. This is T. Fox Dunham, and now we're going to play an excerpt from Amber Hollow by Edgar Swamp on What Are You Afraid Of?
An excerpt from Amber Hollow, written by Edgar Swamp and read by David Walton. The call came when they were 5 blocks from St. Mary's, blaring from the radio in a raucous hiss of static that made both of them jump. Sadie looked at Jeremy, and the confusion in her eyes would be almost comical if the situation wasn't so dire. He grabbed the handset on the radio, pressed the button. This is Detective Jeremy Lefebvre. Please repeat the transmission. There is a 1056A in progress on the Tower Drive Bridge. I repeat, a 1056A. We're 2 miles from that location, he said calmly, although his nerves suddenly felt as if they were live wires spitting enough electricity to power the entire city. We're en route. 10-4, the dispatcher said, and Sadie flipped a switch on the dash that fired up the siren. She then grabbed the bubble next to her, rolled down her window, and tossed it onto the top of the car, where the magnet on the bottom held it firmly in place. For some reason, she always felt like she was in an episode of Starsky and Hutch when she did that. You thinking what I'm thinking? Jeremy asked his partner. What are you thinking? I don't know. Maybe I'm jumping to more conclusions. But somehow I think this is one call we need to take. Turned out he was right. She was clinging to a support cable with both hands, in the centre of the giant arch, the wind whipping her hospital gown around like a flag at full mast. People had gathered, commuters on their way to work, housewives getting the day's grocery shopping done, families heading to Bay Beach to enjoy a picnic lunch and carnival rides. A man in faded jeans and a flannel shirt was shouting something at her, reaching out his hand, but the woman was oblivious. To Sadie's horror, there were actually a few people who were taking pictures. One man, in fact, had a large video camera, and it was apparent he wasn't affiliated with any of the local news stations based on his attire of jammy jam bottoms and a ripped Molly Hatchet t-shirt. She made a mental note to confiscate their devices once the situation was handled, if it was handled. She pulled the car alongside the railing on the east side of the bridge, turning off the siren but leaving the flasher on. She and Jeremy got out, but they moved with deliberate caution, not wanting to frighten the woman any more than she already was. "One of the survivors?" Sadie asked Jeremy, and he shrugged before nodding. "Probably." They reached the man in the flannel shirt, and Jeremy put a hand on his shoulder. He started, looking wildly at them, and they could see he was almost as scared as the woman standing on the ledge. "Please stand down, sir," Jeremy said. "We're police. Let us handle this." The man's eyes were practically bugging out of his head, his jaw working but no words coming out. Spittle had formed in the corners of his mouth, and he licked his lips with a tongue that was so dry it made a rasping sound. "I was just driving by, and I saw that woman walking along the side there. People aren't allowed to walk on the bridge, you know. No walkway." Jeremy nodded. "Yes, of course. Now, please, let us do our job." "I was just driving by in my truck when I saw her." "We understand, sir. Please." The man nodded and backed away. Sadie stepped up to the rail, looked down at the roiling water below. The bridge connected the east and west sides of Green Bay at the mouth of the Fox River, and it had been used for suicide attempts in the past, although it wasn't quite high enough to be instantly fatal. Most suicide attempts from the bridge that were successful were due to the victim drowning. With this in mind, she removed her walkie-talkie from her belt and called for a police boat. "Heading that way, ma'am," she was told. 10-4, she replied, and replaced the walkie-talkie on her belt. Jeremy advanced towards the woman slowly, holding out one hand. "My name is Detective Jeremy Lefevre, ma'am," he said calmly, his voice pitched low. One wrong word and all she had to do was let go of the cable, and the wind would whip her right off and into the bay. "I'm not going back," the woman screamed, her eyes rolling in terror. "You hear me? I'm never going back." "We understand," Sadie said, approaching carefully from the opposite side of her partner, although her reply couldn't have been further from the truth. So far, she didn't understand anything. However, she knew for certain that this woman's passing wouldn't do them a damn bit of good at getting to the truth. They needed to keep her still so she wouldn't let go. "We're here to help you," Jeremy said. "In fact, we were on our way to the hospital to visit you, to ask you some questions." "You have questions? You can ask Anthony Guntram. It's his fault. All his fault." "I'm afraid we can't do that, ma'am." He gazed down, saw a police boat approaching from the mouth of the river. Good timing. "Please, let us help you. Take my hand." "I don't want your help," she screamed, and in her exertion, one of her feet slipped, and she almost fell. The only thing keeping her from plunging over the side was her grip on the cable, which apparently was pretty tight. "You can't help me. No one can. Let us try, Jeremy begged. Never, she croaked in a husky voice. And then she let go of the cable.
We're back. Episode 138.
We are back.
And we're going to stay here. We're going to keep going even through the apocalypse.
That's right, the apocalypse. Oh, man. It sounds scary saying it like that, you know?
It's, you know what, Angel, you know, the Vampire of the Soul I watch every Halloween. Mm-hmm. They always talked about the apocalypse coming. And by the third season, they were saying, well, which apocalypse? There's been like 30 now.
Yeah, it's like, there's the zombie apocalypse. Yeah. You know, there's the meteor hitting the Earth apocalypse,
nuclear Holocaust apocalypse, and I like to think of it the way the Norse did with Ragnarok, was that the end of the world would happen, but it wasn't really the end; it was just a massive change.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it'll keep going, but it's definitely, even so far, is a massive change.
Yes,
you know, and what do they call it? The new normal, right?
The new normal. We will, and you know what? It's really not, because this happens every 50 to 70 years.
Yeah.
So, but people just seem to have forgotten about the Spanish flu, which was the last great epidemic.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention it, but then I almost decided not to, because I don't want to compare it to that, because that was, that was just bad. If anyone out there doesn't know what it is, I would suggest not looking it up.
Don't freak yourself out right now.
A
lot of us historians already know what this is like, and this is nothing new for the human race. And as antibiotics begin to lose their efficaciousness, we're going to see plagues and sicknesses like smallpox and...
I mean, antibiotics don't even do anything against...
not against the virus, of course, but there's a time is coming where bacteria is going to evolve to our treatments, and that's it. We're going to be back to a point where the human race was sick and dying and losing a lot of the population. But this has been a cool episode. I'm glad we could do this.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully modern medicine will be able to keep up with the evolving bacteria, and it won't be some kind of super bacteria, because I was thinking about this the other day too. You know, all these people are buying up this hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, everyone's buying up the sand and it contributing to antibiotic resistance.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening.
It could be a problem in the future.
Right. And so, but yet again, we're not really thinking about the future. But I think we'll survive. We'll keep writing. We'll keep doing the show. We got some awesome guests planned for the future. Melissa George will be on. We had to postpone a few things because of everything that's going on, but she will be on. Plus some other great authors and paranormal investigators. But I'm so glad we could do this, Phil.
Yeah, me too. I had a blast.
Well, this has been
having a blast.
This has been episode 138, Stories for Quarantine. This is
wait, hold on 1 second, Fox.
Sure.
The Mothman is calling me from the basement.
Oh dear. Okay.
Hold on. Okay, never mind. I'll take care of it later. It's not an emergency. Okay, we're cool. We're cool.
He's into your beer supply.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, then that's Luckily, my beer supply is not down there, so.
Okay. Right.
I'm good there. The emergency can wait. It's not pressing. So.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, this is T. Fox Dunham.
And this is Phil Thomas.
We'll see you again soon. Virgin on the Ridiculous.
So there was 30 kids watching these drunk adults beat the crap out of this clown.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife, Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A television series based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology Points of Origin from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time. Find out more information at www.tfoxdunham.com.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into 2 feature films, False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon Prime on demand. His screenplay, 3 Tunnels, was a semi-finalist at the LA Screenplay Competition. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. He formerly held the position of Senior Marketing Manager at Eternal Press, and was a journalist for Patch, where he wrote a daily tech column covering the latest electronics and gadgets. He lives in the suburbs of Philadelphia, and is currently working on his second novel, Worst Afterlife Ever.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.